Hey, DC superfans, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and to round off DC Comics Movie Week. Well, yes, you guys, of course, read the title, and, well, you, of course, know what the last DC Comics film it is that I am now about to review, but I'm not reviewing this alone, because joining me alongside, being one of my frequent review collabing buddies, Anchorman, it's good to have you for this.
Hello.
Yes. So yes, guys, with Anchorman joining me, we are now reviewing, and again, to round off DC Comics Movie Week, and the first movie installment of the new DCU, the new DC Cinematic Universe, under the command and direction of James Gunn, and with him directing the first film of the new DC Universe, all the above, yes, 2025's Superman. That's right. Finally, at long last, we're reviewing Superman. Yeah, so the first things we have to say about Superman itself. Well, I'll go first because, yeah, and this is also going to include a bit of background, because, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure as we all remember, because, well, DC comic book films were at a dark time. It was at a dark place, and Warner Brothers, their first attempt to do a DC cinematic universe, not a great start. I mean, they did have a few pretty good DC films, like, you know, from The Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Shazam, but the other majority of DC films they were spitting out, yeah, especially when they did it too early. Where they did Justice League, but thankfully when Zack Snyder stepped in, yeah. And, you know, with the further projects that they were doing at the time, and when at first it seemed like, we were going to see a Man of Steel 2, and I'm sure as we all recall, Henry Cavill was, actually, you know, in big league with bringing to life a Man of Steel 2, and especially this was after, say, doing the one Mission Impossible film that he did, and of course, like, with him having a cameo in Black Adam, and that was basically a tease of his triumphant return, and for a Man of Steel 2, well, not long after his cameo in Black Adam, plans for a Man of Steel 2, and for Cavill to return as the title character, fortunately would not come to be, because, yeah, enter James Gunn, whom would slowly but surely step into the DC universe by bringing us the second Suicide Squad film, and would also bring us the one show that would be a spin-off of the Suicide Squad, centering on one of the main characters from his Suicide Squad film, Peacemaker. Slowly but surely, it would turn out that James Gunn would then be in charge and freshen up the whole thing of DC Comics having its own cinematic universe. Yep, I'm sure as we all recall when though that announcement was made, and just, like, mind-blowing. And especially since, yeah, fresh off of, say, besides his Suicide Squad film, having finally wrapped up the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, after that, and leaving Marvel Studios altogether, now moving on to the other comic book world, which of course being DC, where, yeah, he would officially be CEO, be a writer and director, an executive producer of anything DCU. Yep. And one of his first big projects, and for this new DCU, being, of course, something Superman. And for me, because, like, yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I mean, James Gunn, like, he's no dummy, and he's no stranger to anything comic book related. Of course, yeah, starting with Marvel, with Guardians of the Galaxy, and stepping in the rings with DC. Well, he proved so when he brought us Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, there's the in the title. And, oh, I'm pretty sure it was exciting for most of us at the time that he was going to direct the next movie installment of this guy. And, of course, we all remember that there were a lot of doubts. There were a lot of doubts when he would direct the next Superman film, and the fact that it was no longer going to be Henry Cavill, especially on account of what the Flash film brought us. Like, basically, that would like reshape some things, change things, all that, And of course, if you know those big details. With James Gunn writing and directing the new Superman film, and whom would be cast in the main lead of the title character, and with all the other characters stepping in, and whom would play who, and, the majority of the cast members being some pretty good choices. And as for David Cornsweet, who would play the title character, yeah, because again, those doubts that came in, and already this film was getting trashed, even before, say, it started production, and even when it was starting production, and so on. Just like, golly, the film hadn't even come out yet. It's just one of those dumb things, why do we have to trash on something that has yet to see the light of day? We have yet to see it with our own eyes on the big screen. I'm just saying, because I'd make a good point there. But no hard feelings on those. Just, yeah, we're entitled to our opinions, all that. Yeah, it's understandable. But slowly but surely, and when we saw those set photos, and when originally, the Superman film was first titled Superman Legacy, yeah, but then it was changed to just being titled Superman. Yeah, it seemed odd at first, but I think over time, we all don't seem to have a problem with it. No, neither do I. And besides, as for an example, the first Superman film from 78, because, yeah, it would be called, just Superman or Superman the Movie. I think by now we called the 1978 Superman film Superman the Movie, so there you go. And the same kind of goes for Batman, because the one from 66 nowadays, being referred to as Batman the Movie. And in the case of Batman from 1989, well, most of us calling it Batman 89, so, yeah. But anyways, and yeah, because for me, seeing those set photos, our first look at David Cornsweet in the suit of the title character himself, yeah, that was a mixed bag at first, but then when the trailers came in, yeah, me seeing the trailers, and, here's the thing, I never doubted James Gunn once when this first began. Never, because I knew James Gunn very well, and of course, again, as I just said, being no stranger to anything comic book movie related, not just Marvel, so yeah. And to finally see the movie itself in all of its glory on the big screen, me and my dad, we saw it, we did see it the day it came out, and, well, as I recall, both me and my dad, we enjoyed it. I especially did. It did not disappoint. All those doubts, most of them, did go away, because, yeah, this was definitely quite an excellent Superman film that we hadn't seen in a long time. Yeah, and if you think about it, the impact that James Gunn's Superman delivers, it leaves off, and again, this being the first film of the new DC cinematic universe under Gunn, yeah, it was just amazing, a great start. And keep in mind that it wasn't just this that started off the new DCU. We also had at the same time, and even before Superman came out, the animated show Creature Commandos. So yeah, Creature Commandos and Superman being the first installments of the new DCU. And also, not only that, but a couple months after Superman came out, we would get the second season of Peacemaker. So yeah, that also being in the new DCU. And yeah, again, my dad and I, we had a great time seeing this. Every single moment on screen with what is brought to life in this Superman film, with how Superman is, how he's written on paper, and with what David Cornsweet brings to the title character, the story that this Superman film has to offer, really excellent. Something that, we've not really seen in any of the past Superman films. The specific directions that this movie takes us on. And of course, we'll talk more about that when we break down the film. And with the addition of, say, a few members of the Justice League, but at the time of this movie, them first being called the Justice Gang. And Lex Luthor, great to see him once again be the main antagonist of a Superman film, and it had been quite a while since he had been a full-blown antagonist of a Superman film. You know, the bright colors, because definitely the color and how it was done in Superman, just beautiful, amazing. The visual effects, looking top-notch, of course. The flying shots, which, by the way, those flying shots in Superman were inspired from, say, Top Gun Maverick, if most of you know this. And, you know, especially since after what was brought in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with the flying shots of Adam Warlock, like, oh man. I'm sure we were to expect that, yeah, the flying shots of Superman were going to be fantastic. And again, the fact that they took inspiration from the flying shots in Maverick was just excellent. Yeah, amazing. The character-driven, the chemistry, the funny moments, yep, and the heart to this movie, the emotional stuff, the drama, the suspense, the action, just everything going on in Superman, and the more we'll talk about it as we proceed, was just fantastic. Yeah. And again, not all the doubts went away, because, yeah, obviously there are those that didn't really 100% enjoy this film, yeah. But I'm sure most of you probably would feel the same way, and, you know, of course, we'll hear from you. Yeah. Okay, so I've been talking a lot. Anchorman, now we come to you. The floor is yours. And after everything I've talked about and such, like, yeah, well, what do you have to say? Your first thoughts and all on Superman.
I really like this movie. It's my favorite movie of 2025. I think it's really well done. I have high hopes for James Gunn's DCU, and David Cornsweet is amazing as Superman, and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is my favorite Lois Lane. Krypto's easily the best part of this movie, the dog. And my friend got to be in this movie in the background.
Oh yeah, I remember you tell me about that, because for those of you that probably don't know, because someone that Anchorman knows of, a friend of his got to...
High school?
Yeah, from high school got to be in the film. Do you wanna tell them, like, where he was specifically in the background?
She was in the scene after the Superman fight with the monster. She got to be in the crowd scene.
Yeah. I don't suppose you could spot or recognize her in the crowd?
Yeah, when I saw it in theaters, because I saw it with my friends.
Oh, that's great. Nice.
Yeah, I spotted her, and then I immediately messaged her saying, "Hey, I spotted you." And then she told me her experience.
Now,
on the movie.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, because maybe I did, because it's been a while, but I'm sure she gave you the details, like how she got to be an extra and how this all came to be for her to be in this film.
I think she saw a casting call in Cleveland,
near
nice. Where I live.
Nice.
And I think she just got to go on the set for 5 days. So she really just got to be in a split-second scene, but she spent 5 days on the set, and she got to meet David Cornsweet, and I assume she met the other actors. So yeah.
Maybe possibly met James Gunn, just, you know.
Possibly.
Yeah. But hey, I was gonna say, because there's no doubt, of course, and for her, those 5 days were worth it.
Mm-hmm.
How can they not? If I were in that position, I'd feel the same way too. I don't care if it would be for 5 days or anything like that. I'd do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Me too.
Oh, that's amazing.
It encourages me to pursue acting and animation, the stuff I want to do.
There you go.
That's why the movie inspires me a lot.
Well, that's great to hear. There you go. And by the way, because with me talking about, like, a bit of background and such, like, how did you feel at that time when, you know, we were no longer going to get Henry Cavill as Superman, James Gunn was stepping in, was reshaping things entirely, you know, complete big changes that would come for a brand new DC universe. Like, how did you feel about all that at first?
I was bummed Henry didn't get to really play Superman anymore.
Yeah.
I wish they gave him more to do. And
True.
but I'm trusting James Gunn. I have high hopes for his DCU.
And also, like, if you okay, so you were pretty much on the same page as me, right? Like, you never once, and when this began, you never once doubted what Gunn was going to do.
I didn't doubt it.
Good.
Because I trust him because of Guardians of the Galaxy.
And like what I just said, he's no dummy. He's absolutely no stranger to anything comic book related. You know, whether if it's Marvel or DC. Yeah, and like I said, he proved so when he did the Suicide Squad. So yeah, our first taste of Gunn, whom having worked at Marvel, doing something DC, and from there on. So yeah. But anything else you've got to say with your first thoughts and all, or are you good?
I liked how everyone had a moment to shine in this movie. Like, every character.
I agree.
Gets a moment.
Yep, and we'll of course talk more about that, but alright. Well, so yeah. With the first things we both had to say about Superman 2025 done and out of the way, well, now as always, for me, read the description / the story. Alright. Superman must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent. As the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way, he soon finds himself in a world that views these as old-fashioned. Yeah. Alright, so now with reading the description / the story done out of the way, now of course to dive in and break down the film itself. Yeah, so first off, because, it's very interesting how this starts off. Because here's the thing, and yeah, it was established by Gunn and so on, where, you know, this wouldn't be like, say, an origin story. This movie the first Superman film in the new DCU would be smack right where everybody knows Superman, and Superman is himself and Clark Kent, all that, which had been done before, so yeah, that was great to see. And the same, you know, and coincidentally, because even, like, say, around the same time when Superman came out, over at Marvel, Fantastic Four, First Steps, it did the same thing where we're already in a Fantastic Four film where they are who they are, and being popular and such in New York, all the above. So, yeah, that is an example. Well, you know, Clark Kent / Superman, and of course his real name, Kal-El, stopping the nation of Boravia from invading the neighboring country of Jarapur, and warning Borovan President Vasil Gorkas to leave Jarapur alone. And in Metropolis, well, Superman, he would be defeated for the first time by a metahuman under the name Hammer of Borvia, and he would flee to his Fortress of Solitude. Of course, it wouldn't be something Superman if we wouldn't have the Fortress of Solitude. And an opening text we get, like, it's amazing. Like, 3 decades ago, 3 centuries ago, 3 decades ago, 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 days ago. Oh my gosh, like, that was awesome. You know, that, just, like, the math done to that and those details. Like, do you have any comment to say on that, Anchorman? The whole thing of, 3 centuries ago, all that with the number 3?
I like it, because it doesn't have to show the Superman origin. They can just get straight to the story and casually mention it.
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that to you, too, because I think it was, to say more about that, I think it was great that, you know, as of now, having a Superman film where we're just smack right where, you know, Superman is there, and he's been there for years now. So, yeah, so after what that text establishes us, you know, about all that's happened, and with him arriving to Earth, all the above, which we've seen before, well, him arriving in Antarctica, and he would crash in the snow, and he would get the help of his superpowered dog Krypto. Yeah. Oh, it was really exciting to see that we were finally getting Krypto in something DC live action and all that. And, well, I mean, Krypto having a big prominent part in anything Superman, and just to go ahead and mention it, because, yeah, you guys know by now that Krypto here is actually not Superman's dog, because Superman is, as he would put at it, fostering Krypto. Well, basically dog-sitting Krypto on account of someone that's not present. I wonder who that would be. Well, you know by now, but, well, we'll mention it later on. So, Krypto stepping in, and little does Superman realize that he has been followed by someone that works with tech billionaire Lex Luthor by the name of Angela Spica, and her ego being called the Engineer. And yeah, and just like what was shown in the trailers, where we see Superman in the snow, and I think I was on the same page as anybody else that felt the same way, where it seemed like that was going to be the opening to the film, which turned out to be the case. Yeah, that's how the film would start off, where he crashes in the snow, and for the first time ever, him being beaten, like, with whomever he came face-to-face with, kind of 100% unstoppable. Yeah, so not being 100% stoppable, all the above. For now. So, yeah, Krypto just, dragging Superman by, with his cape and all. And the Fortress of Solitude here, well, it looks fantastic. The fact that it can hide and it can bury itself under the snow in the Arctic, that's amazing. And the design and look for the Fortress of Solitude is fantastic. And also where we would see the Kryptonian bots that serve for Superman. Yeah, so again, with the Engineer having followed, Superman's whereabouts and where he resides at. Well, yeah, and then the robots, well, because with them attending to Superman and contracting solar radiation from the sun to heal him, as we all know, that's one thing that can heal up Superman and to give him his power and energy. And they would also help to comfort Superman with a message from his birth parents. And yeah, because having the holographic message and holographic images of his parents, Jor-El and Lara Lor-Van. And to go ahead and, mention the first cast members we see, because Superman, of course, as was mentioned, David Corenswet, and just, again, David Corenswet, with what he brings to the title character when we first doubted it, but once we saw him bringing Superman just brought to life fully in this movie, oh, he was just outstanding. And if most of you know this, because David Corenswet, he was handpicked by James Gunn after Gunn saw him in the X trilogy in Pearl, because, his role in Pearl, where he plays a guy who runs a movie theater that's showing pornographic films. I'm sure a lot of you've seen Pearl and all that. You have, Anchorman. I know you have. How did you feel when you found out that, holy crap, David Corenswet from Pearl is going to be playing Superman?
I enjoyed his appearance in Pearl. It was... when I rewatched Pearl, I was like, oh, that's him?
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, how did you first react to when you found out that the guy from Pearl was going to be playing the title character himself?
I found out. I don't know if I remember the time I watched Pearl, but when I watched Dead Meat, the YouTube channel, they did a kill count on Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
And they mentioned him playing Superman. I was like, oh, yeah, he's playing Superman.
That's right. Yeah, and I first knew David Corenswet from Pearl, and I'm sure that goes for a lot of us. But if any of you, probably most of you, if you have known David Corenswet from besides, as of now, Superman, and before that, Pearl. So yeah. So hey, if it hadn't been for Ty West and bringing Pearl to life, then who knows where this would have gone to for David and for the film itself, Superman, I tell you. Anyways, but yeah, And yeah, David Cornsweet, he fits the role of Superman. And here's another thing, because the design and look of the costume, because yeah, again, like there were doubts on the suit, but to me, I thought the suit looked great. I thought it looked awesome looking. And here's another thing. It's great to see, and I think, yeah, Gunn did establish this, where, yeah, the decision, and rightfully so, not to incorporate some muscle markings on the suit. It's been done before, like most prominently with Cavill's Superman variation. Not that I disliked it. Yeah, I guess it worked out fine, and on account of Henry Cavill with what he brought to that Superman. But you know what? We've had plenty of other past Supermans where muscle marks and all that in the Superman suit are not there. I mean, you know, look at Christopher Reeve's Superman. He built up, and, you know, a bit of his muscles, they showed through the suit. There you go. And the design for the Superman suit that David Cornsweet wears, the detail and markings, still having to have the whole yellow, red, and blue to the suit, yeah. And where he wears those trousers, yep, and even having the S, although it's not really supposed to be an S. Having that in the back of the cape, that was great too. Just again, like, everything that David Cornsweet brings to the title character himself, and with how much we get of Clark Kent. Because here's the thing, it's kind of in that same territory as Matt Reeves' The Batman, where in Matt Reeves' The Batman, we get a lot more of Batman, and not enough of Bruce Wayne. So same thing's going right here for James Gunn's Superman. Not that I'm complaining, but yeah. And Anchorman, coming back to you, because, like, anything else you've got to say, and, like, how you really felt about David Cornsweet and with what he brought to Superman just all together.
I think he did a really great job. He seems more down to earth Superman.
Oh yeah,
He just really likable, and I like how he was able to save everybody, even when he's fighting the giant monster, and he's just able to be the Superman that we know and love.
Yes. And how did you also feel about the design and look for the suit, by the way?
I thought it looked awesome. I like the light blue and the way the S looked. It suited the modern look.
Yeah, because the design and look of the S, because different than, like, say, what's on my shirt. But I think there have been a few times, and I would assume, especially in the comics, where the symbol on Superman's suit, you know, it's not an S because it means hope and all, just all that. Point being is that, yeah, there's no doubt that in past materials of Superman, like, rather what's been brought to life in live action, but most prominently, like, in the comics, obviously there have been a few times, I assume, where the symbol has had a few tweaks and all that. So right here, just, yeah. And I think just overall, like, how the Superman symbol looks for this, pretty good. Of course, it would have to look exactly almost the same as it's supposed to be, because, like, yeah, if you like dots here, like all that, the markings, like, yeah, they're gone, but just, yeah. Anyways, all right, but, and also, to mention the other cast members we so far see, the robots, because, yeah, the most prominent robot we get, named Number 4. Yeah, and that's what he's named throughout most of the film, Number 4. Number 4 being played by good old Alan Tudyk, and yeah, even Alan Tudyk had slowly but surely stepped his way into the new DCU. So, yeah, and not to mention that those robots, they were practical, pretty much, yeah. Well, not to mention that most of the time, because even, like, in the behind-the-scenes footage, Alan Tudyk is in a motion capture suit, so yeah. But sometimes, yeah, it's a mixture with motion capture, visual effects, and practical effects on the robots, so, yeah. And the other robots, well, like, Superman Robot Number 1, and Number 1 being voiced by Michael Rooker, Robot Number 5 being voiced by Mantis herself, Pom Klementieff, and Robot Number 12 being voiced by Grace Chan, and yeah, so that was really cool. And because, yeah, I think it was obvious that we probably were to expect some familiar faces that had worked with Gunn previously in Marvel, and on account of also his Suicide Squad film. Yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, Michael Rooker, because his appearance in the DC films under Gunn, just, yeah. And that also goes with one of the other big cast members whom we'll get to shortly. But yeah, so, and also, yeah, the engineer, because the engineer being played by Maria Gabriel de Farah. Yeah, because with how much we get of the engineer, to me, I thought it was a pretty good henchman slash sidekick, evil henchman and all, working with Lex. And yeah, because a couple of these henchmen and all that work alongside with Luthor, I thought were pretty good. Any comment from you, Anchorman? Because yeah, like, what did you think of, like, anything to say, like, on the robots and the engineer?
I like the robots. I thought Alan Tudyk was perfect for the role since he played K2SO in Star Wars.
Obviously.
I like the engineer. I think the actress is cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could have gotten more of her, but...
we're going. Of course we're going to. But yeah. But also, keep in mind, Anchorman, because yeah, this is not the first time that that Alan Tudyk, he's played a robot, because even before this and Rogue One, he most prominently was the main robot character in I, Robot that, starred Will Smith. So there you go. All right, but to get back on point, and also, like, with how much you said about Crypto, because, yeah, well, for me, because Crypto, with how much we get of Crypto in this, I mean, of course, well, it's not like he steals the show, no, because the balance and with how much we get of Crypto in this, yeah, and for anybody who found Crypto so adorable, I know my parents did, yeah, just, and not to mention, fun fact, that Crypto was modeled after a rescue dog that James Gunn saved, if you know about this. That's nice. And this Crypto, like, yeah, he's so rambunctious, destroying stuff, but, at the same time, he's a good, loyal dog, and a good super dog. There you go. Any other comments you have about Crypto in general, Anchorman?
Crypto hits home for me since my dog passed. And now I'm taking care of my grandparents' dog. I have him dressed up as Super Dog. So I think Crypto is easily the best part of this movie.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, because I seem to recall that with you dressing up your grandparents' dog. That was nice. All right. Okay, so, again, with Superman being charged up, yep. Well, and also, yeah, because on account of Superman's parents, because... of course, they sent him to Earth to save them, of course, from the destruction of their planet Krypton. We know this. And the message that they left for their son, well, when he first arrived to Earth, yeah, part of that message was damaged, yeah, during the journey. And only the first half is played. And yeah, and the part where, most of it, like how much they love and care for their son and all that, and with saving him, just, yeah. Well, and Superman returning, yeah, because the sun that gave him energy, returning to Metropolis, and after we get our titled logo, and the music and score, to go ahead and mention the music and score, it's great to see that it reincorporates the Superman theme that was written by the one and only John Williams. And, it seemed like at first that I remember reading this, I'm pretty sure, where John Williams seemed to express interest in doing the music and score for Superman, but, well, that didn't come to be, and no offense to, yeah, What's-Him-Face, because whom had previously worked with Gunn on the Guardians films, and especially after having just done the music and score for the third and final installment in the Guardians trilogy. And how'd you feel about that, Anchorman, with the Superman theme from John Williams being used once again, rightfully so, in this?
I can tell it was definitely inspired by John Williams' music.
Obviously. Not to mention that James Gunn's Superman does, like, parts of this movie do pay homage to Donner's Superman films. And, even, like, James Gunn would, of course, be well aware that, yeah, even though, yeah, this Superman film did really great, let's face it, it cannot top off what, the first two Superman films, especially, what they brought, and with Donner stalled. Yeah, it's true, yeah. Not for there to be any competition, just, yeah. Anyways, so, again, with him returning to Metropolis, and yeah, because the setting of Metropolis looking fantastic, and, again, just with the brightness and beautiful cinematography, just fantastic. So yeah, returning to Metropolis, and, well, once again, being beaten by the Hammer, again, as he's called, and whom, yeah, because the Hammer being a threat to Metropolis, little do the citizens of Metropolis realize that he is secretly under Luthor's commands. He's basically Luthor's Metaman Ultraman, basically. Yeah, that's his actual, like, name that Luthor gave him, Ultraman. And the fight between, like, say, Superman and Ultraman, with how much Superman can try to take on Ultraman, well, ultimately and eventually, Ultraman would retreat, and technically Superman saved the day. And it's great to see, like, where, the citizens of Metropolis, they try to help out, Superman and with what's going on with him after he just got beaten down by Ultraman, especially, because, Malik Mali Ali, being played by Dinesh Thyagaran, if I got his full name right, maybe. Because, like, with him, and apparently, Superman being well aware of this guy, and he had served food for Superman. Yeah, with how much we get of Mr. Mali, but the more we'll have to say about him. Like, what did you think of, if you have any comment, Anchorman, like, what did you think on Mali?
She, like, is she like as part of LexCorp or something?
Well, again, I just said that he's one of the Metropolis citizens, and who at one point, he gave food to Superman.
I can't really remember his character.
Well, until we get there, when I mention, of course, I'm sure it'll pop in your head, just like, okay. But also, we of course have to acknowledge Lex Luthor himself, because, where we are introduced to Lex Luthor, and Luthor, of course, being played by good old Nicholas Hoult. Yeah. And Nicholas Hoult, who, being no stranger to anything comic book related, since, he was in something Marvel, Hank McCoy / Beast, And actually, he was at first considered to play Superman, but eventually he was given the role of Lex Luthor. And, rightfully so, because I'll start off. Luthor in this, and with what Nicholas Hoult brings to Luthor, whoa, just, oh my gosh, like, almost like, say, the total opposite of, like, like, Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey, everybody else whom portrayed and brought to life Luthor in all of Superman material, in live action most prominently, man. And no offense, no hard feelings, no offense to the past actors who have played Luthor. They were all great. I mean, especially, because Gene Hackman, of course, being the memorable one. It's a toss-up between, like, say, Gene Hackman, and for animation, say, Clancy Brown voicing Luthor. But my point being is that, Nicholas Hoult, with what he brings to Luthor, this Luthor, he's a complete psychopath. And to go ahead and mention this because, this Luthor, the fact that he's jealous over Superman, the attention was taken away from him and it was given to Superman. And, he's such a big, whiny baby, and he'll just stop at nothing to get the attention back and to take down Luthor, and how much he freaking despises him. Just golly. And the more mayhem that Luthor would do, unbeknownst to the citizens of Metropolis, but once they realize, and the more we'll say, and when we continue breaking down this film, just and Nicholas Hoult, fitting the likeness for Luthor here, with the bald head and such, and just the power and, the aggression that goes through Luthor, and how he most of the time would treat his fellow workers, that are under his command. Just overall, Nicholas Hoult, he nailed it. And what say you, Anchorman?
I really do like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I wasn't really sure what he was gonna bring to the movie, since I've been alright off and on with the Lex Luthor live action ones. I like the Superman animated series one. That's probably my favorite Lex Luthor. But this one definitely was a really good one.
Oh,
definitely evil one for sure.
indeed. And anything you've got to say, because, yeah, the other characters, like, that are under Luther's command and all, like, what say you on those characters?
They were fine. I did like Eve Tessmacher. I think she was a great highlight of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now that you mentioned Eve Tessmacher, Miss Tessmacher! Yeah, just can't help but say that whenever, like, bringing her up. But, yeah, Eve Tessmacher being played by the lovely, talented Sarah Sampaio, if I got her last name right, but again, you know me sometimes. Yeah, and I concur with what you just said, Anchorman, because, yeah, with what is brought to Eve Tessmacher, and it's been, quite a while since there had been anything of Eve Tessmacher and anything, like, live-action Superman, but point being is that, yeah, this Eve Tessmacher, and the fact that, yeah, to go ahead and mention it, but not too much, like, at the end of the film where she would be redeemed, and she would get a happy ending of her own, and it's interesting to think that whom she's linked with, in fact, she's an ex of someone that, yeah, I bet none of us could have expected. But you know what? Because, like I said, with what this Superman brings us, the changes and all that, the direction this film takes, not bad. Yeah. The fact that when we first see Eve Tessmacher, because she's literally taking selfies of herself, and while the fight between, Superman and Hammer are going on, just, yeah. But, yeah. And the other characters, like, there's also, Clevis Thornweight, yeah, and, Stahl, yeah, although the characters that serve alongside with Luthor, they're all great, yeah, Larry Chin, Dean Farr, Larry Chin being played by Paul Kim, Comstek played by Adrian Leonard, Dean Farr, Jonah Leese, and also, yeah, Otis Berg, played by Terrence Rosemore. Miss Jessop, played by Bonnie DeCepolo. Amanda Mary McCoy, played by Natasha Hellevy. Yeah, Cherry Kimball, played by Giovanni Cruz. And there's also Sidney Happerson, played by Stephen Blackheart. And yeah, just again, those side characters that serve alongside with Luthor, they're all pretty good, and with the moments that they get and with their dialogue, yeah. And then of course, like seeing those at the Daily Planet, yep, because well, seeing Jimmy Olsen, of course, and Jimmy Olsen being played by none other than good old Skylar Gasondo. Yeah, I hope I got his last name right. Whom I've most prominently known. I've known him from, say, the third and last Night Museum film, as older Nicky, Santa Clarita Diet. If any of you've watched that show, he was great in that. And amongst of other good things that Skylar's been in. He's such a delightful talent. With what he brings to, Jimmy here, oh yeah, because the majority of Jimmy we get, and this variation of Jimmy that Skylar brings is great. And, who'd have thought, because apparently in here, Jimmy, is a ladies' man or something, because his fellow co-workers, the ladies, they find him hot. I mean, because Skylar is a good-looking guy. I mean, and it's obvious that for Jimmy here, he's just totally unaware that apparently there's something about him that just makes the girls melt over him and so on. But hey, doesn't he realize that he's lucky? Just, how could he not? But, it's his business, and he just finds it whatever, And also, yeah, there's also, Cat Grant, played by Michaela Hoover, and Ron Trope, played by Christopher McDonald, and Perry, of course we gotta have Perry here, Perry White, being played by Wendell Pierce, yeah, and the other characters, like Steve Lombard, played by Beck Bennett, Clevis Thornweight, yeah, Michael Ian Black, and yeah, to mention the other characters later. And of course, yeah, Lois Lane herself, being played by Rachel Brosnan, as You'd already mentioned Anchorman. But what say you some more? Like, anything else you've got to say on besides Lois, the other characters that we see in the Daily Planet, from Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, etc.?
I think I think he was my favorite of the side characters. I think he has a lot of great moments. I think him being a ladies' man was perfect. And, yeah, Cat Grant was cute. Perry White, it was cool. I didn't really see him much in the movie, but he did his role.
Of course, because it's Perry White,
Yeah.
And, of course, Lois Lane, because, still let you take the spot, because anything, what more do you have to say? And, because with what Rachel brings to Lois and how Lois is done in this Superman film.
I think she's my favorite Lois Lane right now.
I
think she has that sarcasticness with her voice.
Yeah?
I think that was missing from other Lois Lanes, but I did like other ones. It reminds me of the animated series one, so I think she did a great job.
Oh, and
as Lois Lane.
And it's like she's almost like a spitting image of Lois, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like she was kind of born to play Lois, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as for me, because, there's no denying, because, Rachel did a spot-on job. It's like she fit the role of Lois like a glove. And no hard feelings, of course, on the past variations of Lois Lane throughout the many Superman films. I mean, of course, like Margot Kidder was a good one. I thought Amy Adams was also good as Lois. And as for the others, again, just no hard feelings on them. But definitely with what Rachel brings to Lois, it's just amazing. Like I said, it's like she's a spitting image of Lois. The specific wardrobe that we all know Lois wears looks amazing. She's got the purple, and with her hair, just all that. And the chemistry she would have with any character, especially Superman, is great. And to go ahead and mention this, it's great to see that here, Lois knows that Superman and Clark Kent are the same person. How did you feel about that, by the way, Anchorman? How did you feel that, because it would be established here also that Lois knows that Superman and Clark are the same person?
I'm fine with it. It was, I feel like Lois and Superman have always known each other for a long time in the history of Superman, so I was thinking, why not just have them already know?
Exactly. I mean, and with what that opening text gave us, there you go. But and also, Clark Kent's appearance here, and I'm sure for all of us, we saw those stilled images, those set photos where we saw David Cornsweet in the Clark Kent getup, where his hair was done differently and all that, which, you know what, that totally works, because, Superman has a specific hairstyle, so in the case of Clark Kent, I don't see why not. Of course, he's got to have the glasses and all, and how Clark Kent acts with, the citizens and his fellow Daily Planet employees. Also, the look of Daily Planet was great. Of course, it has to be in a tall building, and they brought it back. The spinning planet logo and all for Daily Planet. That was great. Also, LexCorp. The design and look of LexCorp is great, too. I would assume as though, that's been in past Superman materials, maybe in the case of animation, but most prominently in the comics. Because obviously when it comes to specific familiar locations and buildings and anything comic book related, they have to have a specific look. And even if there would be some tweaks and changes, they still got to almost look exactly as how they're supposed to be. There you go. And any comment from you, Anchorman? What'd you think of the design and looks for, say, LexCorp and Daily Planet here?
I like LexCorp's design and look. I like how it's all connected to two buildings.
Yeah, there's a bridge going on. And Daily Planet?
I think it looked perfect.
Yeah. And you realize this because, in the first attempt of doing a DC cinematic universe, the Daily Planet had a different design. It didn't have the spinning planet. Actually, the last Superman live-action film to have that was Superman Returns. But it's great to see that, yeah, we've got that reincorporated and just looking fantastic. Of course, it has to have that bronze look. Yeah, so. And how did you, also, if you have any comment, like, how did you feel about Clark Kent's appearance and with what I described, like how his hair looks and all that?
I wasn't sure about the hair, but I just got used to it, and I thought he looked like Clark Kent for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just when you think about it, I guess, you know, with him having the glasses, of course, it hides his identity, but I think, yeah, the hair would also help. If you think about it, just, yeah. Well, and also, yeah, we would be quickly introduced to Clark's adoptive Earth parents, Ma and Pa Kent. Yeah, we get a little snippet of them when they call him, but we would see them more a little later on. And yeah, because when we get to them, you know, we'll have more to say. Well, at one point, and by speeding things up some, and after say there's a meeting between Luthor and those like in the government, because you know about like his soldiers and mentioning that, you know, maybe possibly Superman is a threat, but they're not buying this. Just, yeah, they at first don't have time for Luthor's nonsense, and with how long the entire world has come to know and trust Superman. Just, yeah. Anything you've got to say on that sequence when Luthor's talking with those people, you know?
It shows us the small world of the DCU. We see I think Rick Flag Sr.
Yes.
That's his cameo. I thought was nice.
Yeah. And also to go ahead and mention, because yeah, we do see him some a little bit. Yeah, because you know, and with what Superman was doing, and it would lead to where you know, Superman would have an interview with Lois, because yeah, the president himself. Yeah, Vassal Gorkas, being played by Zlatko Buric, yeah. And who, by the way, would actually, not long after being in something comic book related from DC, he would find himself in something else comic bookish, you know, related, in the world of Marvel, in the MCU, of course, in Wonder Man. I'm sure you guys, most of you know. But, you know, with how much else Zlatko Buric has done in his acting career, oh yeah, because if any of you have seen him in any other films, like, yeah, he's a really good actor, and with what he brings to, you know, President Vassal Gorkas, like, just, yeah, what say you on Vassal Gorkas, Anchorman?
I think when I saw him immediately, I just knew he was evil.
Yeah, and also a jerk. Like, yeah, not the best president from Borovian. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, just overall, Vassal Gorkas. You know, if it wasn't obvious immediately that he is evil, well, brace yourself. Of course, you know by now what more we get of Mr. Gorkas. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, back on point, and again, to speed things up some, because, well, at one point and later that evening, because Lois returning to her apartment, and where she would be greeted by Superman/Clark Kent. And again, she knows, of course, that it's the same person, and yeah, they've been in a relationship for quite a while. And, well, Superman surprising Lois with something for dinner, breakfast. And according to her, he loves breakfast for dinner, but just, yeah. And it would lead to where, yeah, Superman would agree to be interviewed by Lois. And, well, I'm pretty sure, like, yeah, what was Superman really expecting? Because, yeah, obviously Lois was going to hit at Superman with these hard-hitting questions. Just, yeah, the whole thing about, yeah, what happened on account of, say, Borvia and Jaranapur. Because, yeah, this would lead into an argument, and Lois presses him, yeah, with the legal and ethical implications of his actions in Boravia. Well, and yeah, and Luthor just with what he would do next. But yeah, because that sequence, like, itself, you know, with, you know, a lot of talk between Clark and Lois, oh man, just, that was so great. The performances from both Rachel and David here as those characters, wow. And, like, you know, Superman's, like, going back and forth, like, being whom he is, Superman, all that, and how this interview's going, it's being recorded, just, yeah. Even when, you know, Superman making it very clear to Lois that the people that Boravia were going to target in Jarapur were going to die. Yeah, because of course, why would Superman allow anybody to die? Just, yeah, that's not what he wants. That's in his character. Yeah, he saves lives. But yeah, just ultimately that whole conversation and that interview that they would do, it just overall would not go that great. It would just get really heated, and yeah, even like, say, when Lois mentions that, you know, she knew this wasn't going to work, and what did that mean? And even she would say that she doesn't know. And it's just one of those things, right, where sometimes certain words, they just slip out of our mouth, you know, certain moments. And even when she would say that, you know, that she's not good in relationships, and, well, this kind of means that they are taking a break or something. Just like, yeah, it's very mixed and complex for them, clearly. But, okay, coming back to you, Anchorman, because what say you with that whole sequence between Lois and Clark, you know, the time they have, the interview that she would do, it would just get out of hand, it would turn to an argument, just all that, just, yeah, what say you?
I thought it was a great sequence. So their dialogue and chemistry was really good. And the argument was interesting, but I'm glad they got the makeup for it in their arc in this movie. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why would they not? Well, after that, because, yeah, what would happen next? Well, Luthor, once again, would unleash something to, you know, cause mayhem in Metropolis. Unleashing a Kaiju, if I said that right, yeah. And I think there have been some people that were comparing it to Stitch or something. Heck, even How It Should Have Ended did that same thing. And ironically, for both Superman and the live-action Lilo and Stitch to come out the same year. But yeah, by unleashing it, and it's about the same, almost the same height as Stitch, but apparently it's gonna grow, and it does so by the next morning. Yeah, so with it having been unleashed by a few of Luthor's men to cause destruction and chaos, yeah, well, yeah, basically being in Metropolis as a distraction while he would infiltrate the Fortress of Solitude with Ultraman and the Engineer. Because, yep, while that's going on in Metropolis, yeah, we would see where Luthor, the Engineer, and Ultraman, we don't see Ultraman's face yet, but I think it's bound to happen soon, yeah. They would break into the Fortress of Solitude, and of course, yeah, this is not the first time we would see Luthor break into the fortress. With them breaking in, they would take down, and they would overpower the robots, bring in and capture Krypto. Man, Krypto, he managed to take a chunk off of the Engineer's face, because even Luthor brought this up early on about the nanites he has created and such, and with what was done to, say, the Engineer, like, she's like half machine and such. Jeez. They would discover, and with what the Engineer does, by looking at the Kryptonian message, and with the Engineer restoring the damaged portion, yeah, she manages to do so, managing to retrieve the entirety of that message, and then, yeah, because, back in Metropolis, well, Superman, besides taking on the giant beast, he would at times rescue the civilians that are in the way, like a dog, two little girls, even a squirrel. Well, that's great for Superman to save a squirrel. And then when Superman's like having trouble trying to take on the monster, more heroes step in. And this is where, yeah, we have the Justice Gang. The Justice Gang stepping in. And at the time of the events of Superman, it's only 3 members of the Justice Gang. Which, yeah, being composed of heroes from Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl. And despite and despite Superman, he's wanting to take the creature in alive, study it and all. Maybe take it to like a big zoo and habitation and all that. Well, Mr. Terrific and the others, they would kill it. Yeah, because sometimes, like, what are the chances? And with the threat that any superhero comes face to face with, it depends. And yeah, of course, to acknowledge the Justice Gang, well, also, the other characters that, do show up a little early on. Rick Flags, Sr., being played by Frank Grillo, yep, and there's also Borvanian General, played by Martin Harris, General Mori, played by James Hiroyuki Leo, if I got his last name right. But the Justice Gang themselves, yep. The Green Lantern that we first see being Guy Gardner. Yep, this being Guy Gardner's live-action debut, and Guy Gardner being played by Nathan Fillion. And yeah, Guy Gardner being one of the 3 human Green Lanterns, where Guy Gardner, in this case, he's quite a handful, and if you know the character very well. Mr. Terrific being played by Eddie Gathaji, if I got his last name right. And, him being no stranger to anything comic book movie related, because as most of us remember, it's unfortunate he didn't have that much. He was in X-Men First Class as one of the mutants, Darwin, with gills and all that. Yeah, and where he ultimately gets killed. He sacrificed himself, but yeah. But it's great to see that Eddie gets to really shine in something else, comic book movie and all that. And in the case of DC Comics and with what he brings to Mr. Terrific. And Hawkgirl being played by Isabella Marced, yes. Fresh off of most prominently in that same year, having been in the 2nd season of The Last of Us, but also, other big things that she was in, like Alien Romulus, and also, Dora. She was live-action Dora, and amongst other great stuff she's been in, yeah. The Justice Gang themselves, oh man, just with how much we get of them, and yeah, because this film manages to work with not just Superman, but with a few other heroes that step in. And yeah, in the case of being Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl. And yeah, of course, they don't really steal the spotlight. And with what's delivered for them and the story, Eddie, Nathan, and Isabella, all 3 of them. As if I need to go into a lot of detail on them, they just overall were fantastic as the members of the Justice Gang. Also, their costume and wardrobe looked pretty good. Because, they have specific jackets that they're wearing and the specific symbol they're wearing. Yeah. Alright, but Anchorman, we'll now come to you. What say you on the Justice Gang?
I like the Justice League, eventually.
Yeah.
Isabella Marcel is becoming one of my new favorite actresses. I still love Jenna, but Isabella, it was really great as Hawkgirl. I hope we get more of her.
Of course.
She'll be great.
Of course.
Guy Gardner, I wish Nathan Fillion played Hal Jordan, but he does a good job as Guy Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the guy who plays Mr. Terrific. I thought that was perfect casting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And to comment on what you said, like wishing that Nathan Fillion could have played, Hal Jordan. Yeah, but, I think that the ending result of him being Guy Gardner, I think that, because I want to say, I don't think it matters, the chin that Nathan Fillion's got, and how the ball hair design, fishbowl haircut he has, I think just overall looked pretty good. And you know what? Because managing to, he does so very well, justifying the persona of what the character of Guy Gardner is supposed to be like. Yeah. And just, to see them in action, especially with Guy Gardner, using the Green Lantern, making whatever he does, because hands or oven mitts, or a baseball bat, that's just excellent, yeah. Of course, we've seen that before, and of course that comes from the comics, yeah. But just overall, the Justice Gang, just fantastic, every time they appear in this movie is great, yeah. Well, And yeah, because even like say Mr. Terrific using special drones he has, and by using a couple to go inside of the creature's mouth, and where the only way to kill this is to blow up like say its heart and all. And Superman just he was not pleased with them killing it, but again, sometimes it depends on the situation and with whatever threat they come face to face with. Yeah. Well, after that, then, and after everybody gathers up to Superman and the Justice Gang, they saved the day, well, the attention would be turned to the TV screens on the buildings, where Luthor broadcasts, here we go, the Kryptonian message, and where, everybody, even Superman, of course, is shocked to hear the second half, and with it being translated in English, in which Superman's parents, they apparently urged him to conquer Earth, and by taking many wives to restore the Kryptonian race. And there was one Metropolis citizen where he handed Superman his phone and he said, this has to be BS, short for bullshit. Hey, at least there was one citizen that felt that way at first, because, I mean, it's like, after all this time, Superman just like, okay, shouldn't the Metropolis citizens, but no, because it doesn't take too long for the Metropolis citizens now to flat out turn against him. Even the Justice Gang, because, public opinion turning against him, and, because especially when he would later angrily confront Luthor, because, the Justice Gang, they have a word with him, and, Superman can't explain this. And even when he made it very clear that he never saw the second half of that recorded message. Not at all, until now. And maybe there's a possibility that it's nonsense. Maybe Luthor somehow changed it up some, but actually it would turn out, even with what Mr. Terrific said, and from there on, actually, that whole message was true. Even wondering how they managed to infiltrate and retrieve that. Well, that's when Superman would dash back to the fortress to look for Krypto, but there's no sign of Krypto. And where he would angrily confront Luthor. Man, he is pissed. And I think it's obvious that if someone manages to piss off Superman like that, it's not going to be pretty. I mean, of course, Superman's not, gonna, rip out Luthor's spleen or anything. That'll just make things worse, of course. I've even seen, I've seen, a couple of, I want to say, comparisons. In 1978 Superman, where Superman, in his way, angrily confronting Luthor, compared to that with this, I'm sure most of you know that too. But I tell you, David Cornsweet with what he brings to Superman right there, oh man, it's so great. Okay, and to talk more about, say, the whole thing with, where in this Superman film, apparently, because, nobody could have imagined where, turns out that in this DC universe, Superman's blood parents from Krypton, they are not as they seem to be and whom we've come to know so much of, because as we all know, the many past variations of anything Superman, his parents, wanting him to be safe and go to Earth and to save lives, make a difference, all that, those basics. But here, it's the total opposite. For me, my memory's a bit fuzzy, because I was surprised, I think for a lot of us, to see that they would do this twist, and with what was brought to the script, and of course coming from James Gunn. But look, sometimes these kind of changes, they will all turn out fine, and look, I've said this before, they've got to make sense, and they've got to be done in the right way. So I think overall, with what was done here, but the more that the film proceeds and all that, oh yeah, definitely. And by the way, did not acknowledge, those that play Superman's parents, because this was really cool. I don't think I knew this. That is until, when seeing this movie in theaters, because, Well, Jor-El, being played by none other than, say, Bradley Cooper. Yeah, because whom having worked with James Gunn before as the voice of Rocket Raccoon, duh. So that was really cool. In fact, I read this where James Gunn, he just simply called up Bradley and asking if he, by doing him a favor and such. And, well, from what I can remember, Bradley, he was more than happy to be a part of Superman and to take on the role of Jor-El. So that was great. And as for, like, say, his blood mother, because, well, Anchorman, let's come back to you, because how did you feel about the whole thing where, and as I've explained, and I gave my thoughts first about that, where, in this Superman film, Kal-El's parents, they're the total opposite of what we've come to know Kal-El's parents and all that, where they're evil and they want their son to conquer a planet and all that. Just overall, like, what say you on that?
I was not expecting that at all. The parents wanting him to destroy the world and rule it. But I'm glad Superman was able to come to still be a good person. Because usually we do have evil Supermen in other forms of DC. But I'm glad this one is on the good side.
Oh yeah, of course. Why would he not? Mm-hmm. And what'd you think? Because, okay, yeah, Jor-El, again, being played by Bradley Cooper, and Lara being played by Angela Sarafane, if I got her full name right. Yeah, what'd you think on them playing Kal-El's parents? And, especially we got Bradley Cooper in this.
I thought it was cool to see Bradley Cooper and the other one as the parents.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I was kind of hoping Bradley Cooper would play someone else, but I was not expecting Jor-El.
You never know, yeah. And I forgot to mention this because we've already mentioned about Nathan Fillion, because, Nathan Fillion most prominently being, like, a top Lucky Charm of James Gunn's. It's, like, from him, his brother, and all that, and if you know those details, Nathan Fillion especially, well, because, most prominently Nathan Fillion having been in the Guardians trilogy as a few different characters, as well as when he was in the first DC film that James Gunn directed, The Suicide Squad, where, he played that one character where his, like, body parts come off. Like, you remember that character's name, don't you, Anchorman?
I don't remember his name, but I remember.
I hate to say it, but neither do I. You know what? I'll put his name in a text. Like, just why not? Because, always comes in handy, post-recording. Anyways, coming back to you still, Anchorman, because what say you on, like anything you've got to say where now the world has turned against Superman, and where he would then confront Luthor, like, where's the dog? Just like, what say you?
I enjoy that sequence. We never really get to see an angry Superman. It's kind of like he's acting like Batman when he's angry, when he interrogates the Joker.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of reminded me of.
There you go. That's a good comparison there. Good example. Because not long after that, and even Eve Tessmacher, she was right there recording this, and of course that footage would be shown on the news. And, here's another thing, the other cast members, like the news reporters, well, because, with how much we get of the news reporters, they were pretty good. Also, one of those news reporters, and whom would be there on account of what's going on with the giant beast that, Superman would come face-to-face with, then when, the Justice Gang step in. Well, one of those people from the news and all that, he's credited as the news ground reporter. Yeah. Well, I knew about this. Maybe you did as well, Anchorman, because it was announced that he was going to cameo in Superman, and it was fantastic to see him. the son of the late Christopher Reeve, Will Reeve, cameoing as, yeah, the ground reporter. What did you think of Will Reeve's cameo in there?
I knew it was him when I saw him.
Of course. Yeah, but wasn't it great to see that the son of the late original Superman got to be in this?
Yeah, it was good.
And there's no doubt that, yeah, he'd make both his parents, especially his father, proud. Definitely. But yeah, and also, like, yeah, some of the other characters to quickly mention, like, yeah, Jack Tapper, yeah, being one of the other news people, being played by Jake Tapper, yeah, and his character's last name, well, okay, yeah, his character's name having some different letters, like, you know, Jack Tapper, like, yeah, there's an I and all that, 1P, if you know this. Well, when they show that footage of Superman confronting Luthor, well, the news reporter would turn to Peacemaker. Peacemaker makes a cameo here. What he has to say about Superman. Yeah. And of course, yeah, John Cena once again playing Peacemaker, rightfully so. And yeah, just with how much we get of Peacemaker, and because, yeah, again, the fact that Peacemaker, even James Gunn establishing that Christopher Smith, Peacemaker's actual name, Christopher / Peacemaker, being in the new DCU, it's just fantastic. Like, what did you think on Peacemaker's cameo, Anchorman?
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it was obvious that maybe we might see Peacemaker. I don't know. Maybe it occurred to some of us. Me, maybe not so much, but, you know, because sometimes you just never know. Yeah. Well, yeah, because with seeing Peacemaker cameoing, well, and actually, because when we see Superman again, because, well, he returns to his apartment, and, well, there's another creature outside that's attacking Metropolis, but this time, he's not stepping in, the Justice Gang do, and apparently, according to Superman, and with Lois being there in the apartment, Superman establishing that the Justice Gang, they've got this, so, and if any of you are familiar with that giant creature, you know, that the Justice Gang are taking on, yeah. Well, Lois would reassure Superman, and that she does believe that he is good. And Superman, he would then confess his love for Lois, and before he is now going to surrender himself to the U.S. government. So yeah, because by this point he really has little choice, because this is probably going to be the only way, and with whatever else is going to happen, just like, yeah, to him, he just feels that, you know, there's little to do, a little bit of hope is lost, but yeah. So, yeah, they get another nice moment between, yeah, each of them, Lois and Superman. And yeah, I was going to point this out, where an image of Superman sitting in a chair and where his suit is a bit burned and all that dirty. Yeah, that was one of the first public stilled images we saw of David Cornsweet as the title character. Yeah. And as if, like, did it not occur to everybody that, okay, obviously that image of Superman, like, this is, like, post after he took down something and he got his suit, like, dirty and all. Yeah. Wasn't it? Couldn't it have been obvious? Yeah. Anyways, so, you know, after, like, again, he would confess his love to Lois, and, yeah, he even said to Lois that he should have said it a long time ago, that he loves her. Yeah. Well, with him turning himself in by the next day, and, yeah, they would hand Superman over to Luthor, and, yeah, for detainment, and by questioning him inside an artificial pocket universe. Yeah. This is where, yeah, it was shown early on that Luthor has made a pocket universe. And yeah, because he has secretly built this pocket universe, and where he secretly holds his enemies, and those that have not said any nice words to him, yeah, including Krypto, yeah, because we would see where Krypto is in the pocket universe. He's not being tortured, really, like, not in a harmful way, because we see him basically hooked up to, like, a simulation where, yeah, he's being distracted into, like, chasing flying squirrels with capes. At least that's harmless, you know. But Luthor does establish that later on they're going to put down the dog, and not in a peaceful way. Ugh. But if it's not obvious already that Luthor is crazy for making this pocket universe, because what are the chances to come later on? Because something's bound to happen, right? On account of the pocket universe. Oh, there's no doubt about it. And coming to you, Anchorman, because, yeah, like, what say you on, the pocket universe and all in Superman that Luthor has, insanely created and such,
It looks like a giant dungeon.
A what?
A giant dungeon.
Yeah, it does, but just overall, like, what did you think of... And obviously the pocket universe, it comes from, of course, somewhere in the comics, but just point being an overall, like, what did you think of, like, everything about the pocket universe in Superman?
It looked interesting. I like Crypto chasing the squirrels. I thought that was funny.
Yep.
And the monkeys trolling Superman.
Yes, the whole
the
thing...
reflection of our current toxic sphere online.
Uh-huh. Yeah, of course I was going to mention the monkey trolls. So yeah, now that you brought them up, now it leads to me talking about them, because I seem to recall, yeah, and I'm sure you guys know this, and you too, Anchorman, that the whole thing of the monkey trolls, it's like James Gunn poking fun at the toxic fans, trolls on the internet, and apparently, it's established here where, because where all the trolls on the internet and the negative stuff they have to say about Superman, whatever, it's because of Luthor. It's his doing because of using those monkeys. And also, Lois brought this up early on when she was interviewing Superman, all those hashtag stuff and hashtag Superman shit and all that. Yeah, that one. Yep, that came from the monkey trolls. And what did you think on the monkey trolls yourself, Anchorman? Because, and again, I'm sure you heard about this, where apparently that's James Gunn's way of, like, poking fun at, like, say, the online trolls and so on.
It's meant to look like Twitter.
There you go. That's another way to put at it. Okay. But yeah, so within the pocket universe, and, because Superman being imprisoned with the metahuman Metamorpho, whom is nicknamed Rex. Yep, and this being Metamorpho's live-action debut, Metamorpho/Rex. And Metamorpho/Rex being played by Anthony Carrigan. Yeah. Who's, another great talent in this film, and the other films that Anthony Carrigan has been in, and with what he brings to Metamorpho, the amazing makeup that was put on Anthony Carrigan for this character was great. Yeah, because Metamorpho, at that time, I didn't really know that much about Metamorpho, maybe just a little bit, but definitely when it's come to this movie, knowing a lot more about Metamorpho and what he does, his powers, his capabilities, and how, I'm sure it's obvious that, very later on in this movie, he would become a part of, say, the Justice Gang. I think it's obvious, right, that was bound to happen? Yeah. What say you, Anchorman, on the character of Metamorpho?
I remember him in Justice League. He got his own episode in the show. I thought it was really well done.
Nice.
So to see him in this, it's nice to see obscure DC characters get spotlight.
You're right, yeah. Obscure DC characters, that's very true. To get their spotlight and all. And that's great. Yeah, to have them shine, have their shining moments and all that. And not to mention that Metamorpho, with him being held hostage and forced to... Yeah, because Luthor is using Metamorpho he would make Metamorpho make some kryptonite. Because, he's using Metamorpho's infant son, Joey, but his full name being Joseph, as leverage to force him, to transmute one of his hands into kryptonite. Yep, of course it wouldn't be anything Superman without kryptonite. With kryptonite, it renders Superman powerless. like say then during questioning, Luthor would murder one of Superman's supporters. And yeah, Superman's struggling to speak and just begging Luthor not to do this. Yeah, Malik Ali, because yeah, does it now, do you remember now, Anchorman? Because right up to here where, yeah, Malik Ali, you know, with what happens to him next and where he's taken hostage, and yeah, because he gets killed.
Yeah, he's the one that gets shot by Luthor.
Mm-hmm. And as we saw him early on the film, again, as I clearly said, where, you know, he knew Superman and he gave him food. So yeah, but that's just, and you know, should have seen that coming. Where yeah, Malik Ali, a simple, great citizen of Metropolis, getting killed so dark and gruesome from Luthor's. Yeah, and even Metamorpho, aka Rex, you know, just being horrified by this, and even like, yeah, from Superman and Metamorpho, each of them would break down and such, and even Luthor, he would mention to Superman on whom else he's gonna bring in next, that reporter that he has enjoyed, you know, being interviewed by and all that. You think that maybe he's referring to Lois? No, he's referring to Clark Kent. So yeah, Luthor does not know that Superman and Clark are the same person. You know, and it's, you know, that's been done before, you know, especially like in, like, say, Batman, where the villains have no idea, of course, that Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same person. And at times where any Batman villain, especially another mentioning of the 60s Batman movie where they capture Bruce Wayne, little do they realize that they also captured Batman. So there you go. That's always interesting when stuff like that happens. When the villains don't realize those two individuals are the same, are one, and all that. But yeah, then, like, say, what would happen next? Well, Lois, when coming back to Lois, well, it would be up to her where, yeah, because she's not giving up, and where she is determined to find out, like the possibilities that Luthor might be linked with the president and all. Yeah, because little does everybody realize, but we, the audience, we see that the president himself is linked with Lex Luthor, Valis Gorkas, because apparently, and go ahead and mention this, Valis Gorkas and those from Boravian were going to take down those and for Luthor to build his own land, which is just like what Luthor from the 78 Superman film was going to do, like make his own land, his own paradise. So yeah, we're getting something like that once again here. So yeah. Yeah, even like, say, a moment where Vasil Gorkas, he you know, because he secretly met with Luthor at, you know, that, you know, because the Pocket Universe, and where, yeah, Superman, he would see President Gorkas alongside with Luthor, and where, yeah, because Malik Ali was shot, so yeah, and yeah, because also the mentionings where Superman had conversations with President Gorkas, and also during the interview with him and Lois, where apparently he at one point almost pinned the president to a cactus, but it wasn't that prickly, according to what Superman says, but yeah. Well, yes, but coming back to Lois, because yeah, because Lois, you know, again, trying to figure out what to do, and in order to find out, yeah, Luthor's link and all with this, and with Gorkas, but also, yeah, with attempting to save and rescue Superman, she went to the Hall of Justice. We get to see the Hall of Justice, yep, appear in Superman, and yeah, of course, using the look and the specific look and design, the building that's the Hall of Justice, yeah. She tries to talk with the Justice Gang, of course, but yeah, she gets nothing out of them, and with how they still feel about Superman, and also the fact that, yeah, he's not really a member of the Justice Gang, just, yeah. And even, like, also Mr. Terrific, because Well, yeah, Mr. Terrific, he actually put some stuff, like the specific details that he says that he implanted them in his fellow superhero friends. Yeah, from Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, and even Superman, to locate them and such. Yeah, whenever. And Lois, when, yeah, she gets nothing out of the Justice Gang, as it was shown in the trailers, and a little snippet of it, Lois, rightfully so, insulting Guy, because with Guy Gardner being such an asshole, pardon my French, but it's true, just saying to Guy Gardner right as she leaves the building, that haircut should be against your vows. That was brilliant. And Guy Gardner's just like, what, be my what? Just... yeah, but rightfully so. Guy deserved it, yeah, because with him being such a douche, but yeah. But coming back to you, Anchorman, because with what I've now talked about, and where Lois, she tries to talk with the Justice Gang, that funny insult she gives to Guy Gardner, just, yeah, with all that I've now talked about so far, where we're up to now, like, what say you?
I was surprised that the Justice Gang didn't want to help find Superman until... Lois decided to Mr. Team Up. I do like their team up. It was really nice.
Yeah, and anything for you to say that funny insult that Lois gives to Guy Gardner?
The perfect insult.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely the big laugh there. But yeah, so with both Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl actually, because yeah, Mr. Terrific, he does step in, because yeah, she somehow managed to convince Mr. Terrific to help find Superman. And yeah, because they would take his ship. It was funny, another funny moment where, he's got this beautiful ship and with all these gadgetries, but the garage that they have, the garage door is slow. Yeah. And even Lois making a comment on that. They have this and all that, but the garage door just being very slow. Yeah. I'm sure they can fix it up, I guess. But yeah, so with them helping, with Mr. Terrific helping out Lois, they would go and find Superman, and they would arrive at the campground and where the Pocket Universe is, like the gateway to the Pocket Universe, and a cool moment where we see Mr. Terrific in action taking on Luthor's henchmen, his troops. That was really awesome. Like, what say you on that moment there, Anchorman, where Mr. Terrific takes down their butts?
That's probably the best sequence in the whole movie.
Yeah, and on account of saying Mr. Terrific, that's not the only awesome moment for sure. But anyways, but also coming back to the Pocket Universe because Metamorpho just having been horrified, and he would agree to help Superman escape. And also on account to free Metamorpho's son Joey to save his son, and for, of course, Superman to save Krypto. And even when Superman told Rex, which, again, Rex, aka Metamorpho, that he could save his son if Metamorpho would help him. But, Metamorpho at first didn't want to do that because this is Luthor we're talking about, but Metamorpho, he gave in, and not really able to make a son, instead just because making, with some particles he does, to make a bright beaming light, and the other prisoners around them, they would notice this and they would call out to the guards. And there's a bit of bickering from one of them, but I saw it first and all that. But by making a big bright light, which, because Metamorpho, he got rid of the kryptonite, and with making a big bright light, and this would heal up Superman, rescue Joey, and of course, then save Krypto. And by the way, I meant to bring this up a little early on. The whole thing with the kryptonite in this, and of course we know what happens to Superman when how he reacts to kryptonite. He just collapses on the ground, and because he does that, but the way he reacts to the kryptonite, it's like his skin and all, just man, that's an interesting detail there, and because nobody else who has done many of the past variations of Superman, if it ever occurred to them. How did you feel about that, Anchorman? How they did the kryptonite here, and with how, Superman reacts to the kryptonite and all.
I liked the way it was done. It was different, for sure.
And in a good way, that's for sure. Yeah. So yeah, with them escaping and they rescued Joey and Crypto. Well, because even like say the river, like do you remember the specific name of that river in the Pocket Universe, Anchorman, by any chance?
No, it's like a Rainbow River, Galaxy River.
It is, but yeah. Once again, there's going to be a text here to the name of it. Also, I will also put a text on the name of Luther's troopers, like yeah, his soldiers. So right there, the name of that river and Luther's troopers. All right, but anyways, because yeah, some of the guards in the Pocket Universe, they would try to take on Superman, Metamorpho, with Mr. Terrific and Lois stepping in, Crypto having been unleashed and is taking on some of the guards, and when Crypto would help Superman and yeah, on account of Joey from being pulled away in the Rainbow River and almost leading to a black hole. Well, luckily, and even when Superman uses his like cold, like where he blows wind, yeah, that helps. And yeah, because all four of them, they managed to get out of the incoming black hole. And Metamorpho, because he unleashed some acid on the guards that surrounded him in the air. And yeah, his body like being nothing but a head and having tentacles and all. But yeah, obviously he would regenerate his body. So yeah. So with them escaping the Pocket Universe, and yeah, because Mr. Terrific and Lois are there. In fact, Mr. Terrific used a couple of his drones to locate Superman, but unfortunately, Crypto noticed them and viewed them as toys to chew on. So poor Mr. Terrific, and even Mr. Terrific saying that those aren't cheap. So yeah, so yeah, they're rescued. They're out of the Pocket Universe, and Superman's still being affected by the kryptonite, the side effect, and according to Mr. Terrific, it'll only last for 2 days. So, Lois would take Superman to where his adoptive Earth parents are. Ma and Pa Kent. Yeah, their names being Jonathan and Martha. So and Mr. Terrific gave Lois his ship to fly, and even like a little bit of interaction we get between Lois and Crypto. That was amusing. And Crypto just sitting on Lois's lap and just, she accepted it. So yeah. And it takes her a few seconds to, get a hang of flying the ship. Just like, yeah, not exactly like with Mr. Terrific flying. It's just, yeah, she's not really fully familiar with the controls, but she'll get the hang of it, of course. So, by bringing Superman back to his adoptive Earth parents, well, because Superman resting for the evening, and yeah, because, Pa and Ma Kent, Martha being played by Neva Howell, and Pa Kent being played by Prute Taylor Vince, Pa/Jonathan Kent. Yeah, because to say more about the Kents, with what was brought to the Kents here, because, definitely they act as, like, good folks and all that, because in Smallville, Kansas and all that, just, they, like, Neva and Prute Taylor, they were fantastic with what they brought to Superman's adoptive Earth parents. And what say you, Anchorman? What say you on Martha and Jonathan Kent in Superman?
I enjoyed their parenthood for Clark. It reminded me of how it was done in the animated series.
Yeah, of course. And also, like, after, like, the Pocket Universe, they got out of the Pocket Universe, and Luthor, he was not pleased. He was downright pissed, about, Superman having escaped. Well, besides that, we also discover that, because, Luthor's girlfriend, which being Eve Tessmacher, she's apparently infatuated with the Daily Planet photographer Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, turns out that in this Superman film and in this DC universe, Eve Tessmacher and Jimmy Olsen, they were once in a relationship. And apparently, Eve Tessmacher never stopped loving Jimmy Olsen. It's like, yeah, even like say when Jimmy went into his text messages and saw how many gazillion texts that Eve Tessmacher left him. Well, yeah, he eventually would text back, and little did we realize who he was looking at in his text messages, and where, yeah, because early on he would help out Lois with trying to get any information possible on account of Luther. And yeah, because secretly Jimmy met with Eve at one point during the evening time in an alleyway, and even like say these hooker girls, them finding Jimmy attractive, just like, yeah. And that moment between Jimmy and Eve Tessmacher, and with how much, because she feels about Jimmy, and just like, you just wanted to meet with me because on account of Luther, just like, oh, it's that kind of attitude. But, of course, yeah, Jimmy managing to convince Eve to have her send him some information, yeah, providing him evidence that, yeah, with Luther aiding Boravia in return for half of Juranaper's territory, as I did establish early on, building his own land. And yeah, coming back to you, Anchorman, because how did you feel about that? Because turns out that in this Superman film, Miss Tessmacher and Jimmy Olsen, they once had a relationship, and what would come for these two characters, and so on, just like, yeah, overall, like, what say you?
I think their relationship was cute.
Yeah, I would concur. And don't you think it was, to go ahead and mention this too, because like, yeah, with what you said about how much we get of Jimmy Olsen here, yeah, that was great. But with Eve Tessmacher, yeah, because as I did establish early on, she does get a redemption in this.
Yeah, I think her redemption was really good. I wasn't expecting it, since the last Eve in the movie was still loyal to Luthor.
You're right, because on account of what she did at, in the third act of 1978 Superman, yeah, but this one right here, no, because she fully would be redeemed and such. Yeah. So, yeah, because eventually, yeah, Jimmy would get in contact with Eve Tessmacher, and she even retreated to a room where, she got away from Luther, because where Luther was losing his shit, he was throwing stuff on the floor, even telling Eve Tessmacher to get out of the room. And she's just emotional, she's breaking down, and when she calls out to Jimmy, just, yeah. And eventually, because, yeah, like, she would, she's going to send some photos that will be very helpful for Jimmy, the information and such, that it needs to be provided. And on account that she and Jimmy would get together for the whole weekend. But yeah, he comes to terms with that. That's good. And yeah, it doesn't take too long for Luther to discover and imprison Miss Tessmacher. And yeah, because at least like, and right as she was being dragged, she just in the nick of time managed to send those photos to Jimmy. Yep. And at the Kent homestead, because, yeah, where they've put Clark in bed. Also, cannot forget to acknowledge this, where this was brought up towards Clark / Superman and Lois, that Superman is into, pop music, which, punk rock and all that, and with what they specifically say. And when Lois sees in Clark's, in his room at the house, that, yeah, the posters he has, that's so great. Yeah. What did you think on that, Anchorman, by the way? Because when, apparently this Superman, he's into, say, pop music, but it's, like, really, like, say, punk rock and all that, just, like, yeah, anything you've got to say?
I like the punk rock. I wasn't really expecting it, since, I don't know, we don't really know Superman's favorite kind of bands or stuff when he was a child.
Yeah, but in this Superman, now we know. All right, but, and yeah, Lois then receiving a phone call from Jimmy, and yeah, because with the selfies that Eve Tessmacher sent to him, however, one of those selfies that she took behind her does give information on, yeah, with Luther's links with Boravia, and, you know, in return for half of Jara-Nopper's territory, all that. So, yep, now they've got it. And yeah, Lois, like, yeah, she made her way back to Metropolis, and yeah, because by the next morning and all, because, you know, Superman, he would be awake, and yeah, I mean, he needed quite a lot of rest, and with what they say, you know, on account of how much he slept. And yeah, because, you know, this is very cute and very, very great for Krypto, because he's on top of Superman's chest, because yeah, being by, you know, Superman's side, that was great. Then there would be a moment where, yeah, because Jonathan Kent, a moment we would get between Jonathan and Superman. And, you know, here's another thing about the Kent's appearance in this Superman film. It's great. We have both of Superman's adoptive Earth parents in a Superman film, especially where Jonathan Kent is alive and well. Anything you got to say on that, Anchorman?
I enjoyed that they're both alive, because usually they like to kill Kent off.
They do, yeah. And on account of the first Superman films with Christopher Reeve, well, you know, when Clark said goodbye to Martha and when he would first go to the Fortress of Solitude, that was the last we saw of Martha Kent. Yeah, so... But, I mean, the later adaptations of Superman and the more we would get of Martha, yeah. But right here, it's amazing what they do. And, yeah, we have both Kents here. And this, and yeah, leading up to this sequence where, yeah, Jonathan would tell Superman that his choices, because with the whole thing about, you know, Superman telling his adoptive Earth father that, you know, on account of the recorded message of his actual parents from Krypton, all that. Well, yeah, Jonathan would tell his adoptive adoptive son that his choices and actions determine who he is, and not the message from his birth parents. Because even Jonathan also saying that, you know, Superman making his own choices, and he made the right choices. That sequence itself, and with the moment, the beautiful moment we get between father and son, and in the case where, yeah, you know, Superman's adoptive Earth father, still, that was just amazing. Anything you got to say on that scene / sequence, Anchorman?
Well, it was probably my favorite scene, of one of the best scenes of the whole movie. His connection with his dad. We finally get that moment.
Yes, absolutely. That's just amazing. And not long after that, because, yeah, Martha stepping in and informing Superman what's on the TV. Because, yeah, well, this is also on account of, say, like, yeah, what's going on with Boravia. They're about to invade Jericho again, but not just that. Even like Mr. Terrific, because Mr. Terrific, he was trying to fix up the gateway to the Pocket Universe, because apparently after the portal where Mr. Terrific and Lois stepped into, it collapsed and all that. Well, apparently it's slowly but surely, and with Mr. Terrific trying his damnedest to fix it up, and with the best he can do, a risk that, yeah, the Pocket Universe is, yeah, well, because, like, basically, with what's going on, again, with Boravia, and with seeing that on the news, well, Superman, he was going to make his way to Boravia and to help those at Jernapur, because apparently those at Jernapur, they have not turned against Superman, because a few of those kids, they pull up, you know, a pole with a flag that shows the symbol, yeah, the symbol of Superman, so, which was also shown in the trailers a little bit, yeah, and if you recall, so that was great to see, another great moment right there. And, well, because, yeah, what would happen with Boravia and, you know, they're about to take down those at Jernapur, and where all of them at one point would chant Superman. Yeah, well, Mr. Terrific informing Superman with one of his drones that, yeah, with his failed attempt to take care of the Pocket Universe, the portal and all that, well, because, yeah, it's creating a rift in reality that is going to split the city in half, and with how further it's going to proceed, it's probably going to destroy the entire Earth. Yeah. So, and also, like, while this was shown on the news with those in Jernapur, well, between, say, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, they all see this on the television. Just like, yeah, well, this would lead to where's Superman, because he would make his way to Metropolis to help out those at Metropolis and be alongside with Mr. Terrific. Turns out that Superman send in Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, as well as Metamorpho, aka Rex, to stop those from Boravia from invading Jernapur. Yep. So that was great to see. And even like Guy Gardner stating to one of those kids that Superman was unavailable. So yeah, sending them in as a backup and such. And yeah, that whole, like, when we cut to the Justice Gang, yeah, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Rex taking on the soldiers of Boravia, and the more like, say, we get of the specific action fights they do, like in the case of Guy Gardner, using the ring and making hands to flip the tanks and all that, even giving them the finger. Oh, that was brilliant. That was so great. And Hawkgirl, because I didn't say that much about Hawkgirl, because yeah, knowing Hawkgirl and her powers with the weapon she has, and she lets out a scream and all that, and where, yeah, because she would then snatch President Gorkas, and, well, by taking him up into the air, and Gorkas saying to Hawkgirl that you wouldn't kill me, because Superman wouldn't kill or anything like that, Hawkgirl's response being, I'm not Superman. She drops him, and right as he's about to hit the top of a roof of a building, boom, we cut to the next scene, just, oh, man, yeah. Excellent. And coming back to you, Anchorman, because what say you where the Justice Gang step in and they help out those in Jernapur and, yeah, taking on those from Boravia?
I love that scene where Green Lantern's using the middle finger on his ring to take out all the tanks and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Also, yeah, Metamorpho, because, like, I think he returned to his lover. Yeah, because, he was there alongside with her, and yeah, when they saw this on the TV, and yeah, it's obvious that, yeah, he would step in, which he does so. First joining the members of the Justice Gang. And coming back to Metropolis, because, yeah, an evacuation would happen. Everybody evacuating from Metropolis. Also, if you paid attention very closely, there's one moment where, yeah, a lot of cars going down a tunnel. Well, one of the signs saying, yeah, a left to Gotham City. Our first taste of Gotham City in the DCU. Did you by any chance spot that the first time, Anchorman? Those Easter eggs on account of Gotham City being mentioned?
I tried to spot it, but I couldn't find it in the movie, but I really hope we do get Batman in the DCU.
Of course we are. Yeah, not to go into too much detail there. And yeah, I mean, because it does go by. Look, sometimes these Easter eggs, whatever the case, like, they do go by fast. And like, say, if you blink for a second, you'll miss it. And I think it's obvious. I think it's obvious for a good majority of us. We did probably more likely miss the Gotham City Easter egg, but it's there, and you guys know where it is, of course, so there you go. Yeah, so with them evacuating, but while that's going on, back in the Daily Planet, Lois and Jimmy, they're going over the details to Perry about what Luthor is doing and how very soon, like, yeah, the information they've got, they can publish this. So yeah, and they seem perfectly calm when everybody else in the building's evacuating, but yeah. Luckily, yeah, Lois, along with Jimmy, Perry, and a few others, they would evacuate to Mr. Terrific's ship. Because, yeah, Lois parked it on top of the Daily Planet rooftop. So, yeah, Perry tagging along, so is Jimmy, and a couple of the other employees of the Daily Planet, of course. Yep. So, yeah. So they get on board the ship, and how many seats there are, because there's about 6, as Lois says, for how much they can sit in, with the exception of one of them that doesn't. So yeah, so they get out of the Daily Planet, and also, like, yeah, where the rift is coming, it's coming directly towards, to say, LexCorp, and turns out that the building, the glass like building that Luthor and the others are in, where the tactical stuff is, actually it can split apart. It's like a ship. It's a craft. Interesting. So, with them doing that, and, just Luthor, he, again, just being a complete psychopath, he just let the rift come in. Yeah, even it was shown in the trailers where, by this point, he does not care if everyone in Metropolis, the world, dies, because now they've turned back to Superman and all that. But yeah, with Superman and Mr. Terrific stepping in, yeah, because, well, it wouldn't take too long for Superman and Mr. Terrific to, come face-to-face with the Engineer and Ultraman. Well, because at one point, nanites would be put in Superman, like in his, leading to his lungs and all. And Superman, like, it first gets to his head. He takes off into the air, and with the Engineer and Ultraman following and just like trying to take him down, and once they get into space, then he would go back down and they would hit the ground and where a subway tunnel is, and this would cause the Engineer to be wounded, and yeah, she'd be the first one to be defeated by Superman. And with how much damage Ultraman has taken, his wardrobe, well, Ultraman would take off his mask, and it would be revealed that Ultraman is a clone of Superman. Yeah, a clone of himself that was created by Luthor, who else? And, it makes total sense, because Ultraman and Ultraman and Superman, because the way they fought one another, they just about have the same power and strength. Just, yeah, no wonder, it makes sense. And even Luthor establishing that he managed to get a sample of his hair, so, yeah. And also, yeah, that was pretty interesting. The twist where Ultraman is a clone of Superman. I remember hearing at one point that it was, I guess, rumored that maybe Henry Cavill would play Ultraman, but nope, it was Henry Cavill who plays Ultraman. And how did you feel about that, Anchorman, when, yeah, it's revealed that Ultraman is a clone of Superman?
The clone looks crazy. I mean, Ultraman, if you don't know, in the DC Comics, he's an evil Superman on another Earth.
Yep.
Decided to go the clone route.
Yep, and if you guys know this, good for you. Yeah, and also, even with what they're describing about Ultraman, because, well, apparently he's not a very smart, clone, but the commands that they would give to Ultraman, like the specific letters and numbers combined that they would give to Ultraman to attack Superman, like, then when it comes down to Luthor constantly saying, 1A! 1A! Just, man, that's insane. But of course, yeah, when Superman is just getting his butt kicked by Ultraman, well, with the aid of Krypto, because of course Krypto showed up. Even Mr. Terrific, he was not pleased at first with Krypto showing up again. But yeah, even Mr. Terrific, he did at one point get knocked out by the Engineer, but of course he would regain consciousness. They were first taken down at a sports field. Yeah, football, so, yeah. So Krypto stepping in, and that long, powerful whistle that Superman gives to Krypto. And Krypto, he was at, like, a pet store or something. He was feasting on dog treats, I assume, just like, yeah. Well, by hearing that whistle, Krypto stepping in, managing to help take down Ultraman, and yeah, to speed things up some still, because ultimately, Superman would take down Ultraman, knock him into a black hole beneath the rift. Yep, because having Ultraman get hit by an incoming bus, and Ultraman and the bus would go into the black hole. Yep, so Ultraman being defeated finally. Also, Superman he risked breaking his arm. I almost forgot about that. He broke his arm, and when he flung Ultraman to be hit by the incoming bus. And we can see, like it kind of showing where he broke his arm, but yeah, he would fix it up, just, painful. And Mr. Terrific stepping in, just like, no time to mess around, just like, yeah. And Mr. Terrific and Superman, especially Superman, taking on the other soldiers of Luthor's. Well, just overall, like, what would happen next? Mr. Terrific and Superman, they would break their way into Luthor's headquarters, and Mr. Terrific, well, he would manage to finally close the rift. And also by this point, Lois and the others, they managed to, publish the information that's going to expose Luthor once and for all, and it does so. And yeah, one more moment between Luthor and Superman where Luthor is just insulting and just, pointing at Superman, and where Superman is telling him that he's completely wrong. He is human as anybody else on Earth. That speech and delivery he gives, it's so great. And Luthor, just being Luthor, of course, just, yeah. But then, the moment that comes where Krypto, just takes down Luthor. He's just, and rightfully so, Luthor deserves what Krypto did to him, just being flung around the headquarters, Luthor's crew members, just being horrified and all that. Just, yeah, a bunch of wimps. And Superman just telling him to, put him down. Just, dude. But, hey, Luthor deserved it, yeah. And what say you, Anchorman? That speech that Superman gave, he's more human and all that, and where Krypto, he throws around Luthor and all that. Even, like, the ending result had Luthor broke an arm. Just like, yeah. And with everything else I've talked about as of now, what say you?
It was a good speech.
Mm-hmm.
And Krypto taking down Lex was definitely worth watching.
Absolutely. Definitely. That jerk deserved it. Yeah. Yeah, that was just great, That was a great moment there, and which was hilarious. And yeah, when Luthor would be informed that, and when they pull up the news channels that, yep, Luthor has been exposed. Now, the world is turned on him, and yep, the world now, turning back to Superman. They owe, even one of the news anchors, making it very clear that they owe Superman a big apology. And they do. They rightfully so do. So, yeah. And, like, each of the looks that Luthor gives and Superman at one another, just like, yeah. And where Luthor, because a big baby, he starts to have tears, and because he's been defeated, just like, yeah, he's just such a big wimp, and the type of villain he is here, just like a big grown child, just not getting his way. He's lost everything by this point, and yep, being the defeat and demise of Luthor, and when him and the others that serve him, they would be sent to prison, and yeah, Luthor, of course, being sent to the Bella Riva prison. That prison. I probably mispronounced it, but you know which prison I'm talking about. That's in the DC comics. But anyways, so yeah, and again, the rift being closed thanks to Mr. Terrific, and also Luthor did mention that because yeah, he orchestrated the Jernapur conflict as an excuse to implicate Superman, and yeah, because this being driven by envy of his public, admiration. And despite him being an alien, just, yeah, more of those details where how jealous he is over Superman. Yeah. Well, after that, and with Luthor being exposed, just, yeah. And now that Superman's name is clear, yep. Well, everybody that was trapped in the Pocket Universe being held prisoner are set free, including one of Luthor's ex-girlfriends who wrote something not unpleasant, that how he viewed it, and yeah, he locked her up, but yeah, she would be freed and she would reunite with her parents. Also, we would see where Krypto is handling the troll monkeys, and yeah, Jimmy and Eve Tessmacher, they would reunite, and there would be a moment where, yeah, Lois and Superman, they're alone, and we're, yeah, doing another interview, but no, because they would kiss and fly in the air, and Lois, now she would confess her love to Clark. Yep, confess her love to Clark, too. And, well, the movie doesn't stop there, because we see Superman back at the fortress, and yeah, I almost forgot to mention that, yeah, when Luthor and the others, they broke into the Fortress of Solitude, yeah, they destroyed the robots, and when Superman stepped in, he saw number 4 damaged, and he did shut down, but thankfully, the robots are restored, and so is the inside of the fortress. And by the way, because there was a moment, and at the start of the film, where Krypto, he did destroy a bit of the Fortress of Solitude. So yeah, because of him being such a rambunctious dog. Well, speaking of which, because yeah, we would see the owner of Krypto step in, which is it obvious who? Yeah, Superman's cousin, Kara Zor-El. Yep, aka Supergirl. She steps in for the first time, her first appearance in the new DCU. Yeah, she drunkenly arrives to pick up Krypto. So this is our first taste of what this variation of Supergirl is like. Yeah, she's basically a party alien girl, and according to, like, say, each number 4 and Superman, because she always likes to party where at planets where there's red suns, and even like number 4, you know, saying that if he was human or anything like that, you know, he would be concerned of her partying. And yeah, it's true, because sometimes, you know, it depends on stuff like that. So yeah, and by the way, because it's up to here where, yeah, number 4 is given a name, Gary. So, yeah, even when Superman said that he felt that 4 is a good name. But yeah, Gary, that's what number 4 is called, Gary. And yeah, of course, to acknowledge, yeah, Supergirl, because, yeah, uncreditedly, Supergirl being played by Millie Alcock. Yeah, I think I got her last name right. And also, yeah, the others that got uncredited, like, also, yeah, Juice Vendor, yep, Bethany Zeb. The others that were uncredited, like the Take Host, played by Rosemary Brandenburg, a Metropolis citizen, played by Luke Bly, a Daily Planet bodyguard, played by Cassie Belmont, yeah, and John Cena, because being uncredited. Sarah Dean, whom plays another Metropolis citizen. Jenna Cooper, another Metropolis citizen. And Michael J. Evans, whom was a Metropolis tourist. Sarah Enker-Rode plays Daily Planet staffer, and who also is male cart girl. Yeah, that's what she does at the Metropolis. Yeah, so just name some of the other cast members that were uncredited. Yeah. And what say you, Anchorman? Because with, yeah, our first appearance of Supergirl, Millie Alcock as Supergirl / Kara Zor-El. Yeah, and with what we've so far seen her, and of course we know, the more we get of her in her own film, just like, yeah, overall, what'd you think of her first appearance?
I love Millie Alcock's Supergirl.
Yep. Okay, and also, like, yeah, like, with what's left off in the film, because, yeah, then the robots, they would comfort Superman once again with footage of his parents, but this time his human parents, not his blood parents from Krypton. Nope, this time it's his human parents. That was a great moment right there. I mean, what say you, Anchorman, on that?
It was good.
Yeah, and anything you've got to say, like, the aftermath and where Luthor got arrested and, you know, happy ending for all those characters, anything you've got to say?
I enjoyed the Superman Lois kiss.
Of course. And
the Krypto with the monkeys, I thought was funny.
Uh-huh, absolutely. And also, like, anything from you, because, like, yeah, where Eve Tessmacher and Jimmy, they're reunited. And you know what? Jimmy does embrace a smile. That was great.
I thought it was a good moment.
Then that's great for Jimmy, because you know what? Jimmy is a lucky dude right here to have someone like Eve Tessmacher, and for Eve Tessmacher, whom loves Jimmy, because, yeah, it's so obvious. But yeah, but again, that last scene we get in the Fortress of Solitude where, yeah, photos and images of Superman's Earth parents, that was great. And seeing a younger Superman, and where his, father is holding him up in the air like he's flying. Yeah, nice detail there. But the movie doesn't stop there, because we do get 2 end credit scenes. The mid-credit scene just being very short, which was in the posters most prominently, where Superman and Krypto, they are on a meteor. I think it's the moon. Yeah, and they're just watching Earth and such. Yeah, and the end credit scene where back in Metropolis, and with the rift having been closed and such. Well, yeah, because we did see this early on where the buildings and with them being split, but they were put back together, and the result and the marking. And Superman, like, not intentionally insulting Mr. Terrific, but that last scene right there just that was amusing. And even Superman, because, Mr. Terrific just being feeling insulted by Superman, he kicks a rock and he just walks off, and Superman acknowledging that he can be a jerk. But I'm sure as though it's nothing intentional from Superman, and it's just one of those things. I'm sure we've all been there. Yeah. And what say you, Anchorman, on those 2 end credit scenes?
They were good. I like the Krypto hug on the moon.
Yeah. And the final one that has Superman, Mr. Terrific?
That was good.
Of course. Yeah. But, yeah, so that's our Superman film right there. Yeah. James Gunn's Superman, Superman 2025, just, it's amazing how this Superman film turned out, and for this being the first film, in the new DCU. It's just excellent. Yeah, and again, when we first doubted it, but surprisingly, most of those doubts, they all went away. Not every one of them. Just, yeah. It's like, yeah, everything from beginning to end was excellent. The storyline, what goes on in this Superman film with these characters, how the world is established, we're smack right where, yeah, Superman is there, Lois knowing who Superman is, the climax and the plot line and everything that's going on with these characters was great. What Superman gets himself involved in, and where, yeah, it's just, like, things go downhill for Superman, but they pick up, there's a happy ending, of course, all is defeated. Great cast of talents, yep, from David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnan, Nicholas Hoult, Nathan Fillion, Bradley Cooper, Alan Tudyk, and also Michael Ian Black, Wendell Pierce, Skylar Gisondo, and Isabella Merced, Will Reeve cameoing, Eddie Gathegi, Jake Tapper, everybody else, like the entire cast members that were involved, and to name a couple of others, like, yeah, because Sarah Sampaio, Maria Gabriel de Faria, just, yeah, again, the entire cast, they were fantastic. The visual effects, the practical effects, how the film was shot, the beautiful cinematography, the music and score, the costumes, the wardrobe, the bright, beautiful colors, the suspense, the climax, the funny/emotional moments, the heart to this movie, what is specifically done, the tweaks and changes that are brought into this Superman film, and in this new DCU, like, and with James Gunn's direction, his writing and direction, everything that came from Superman 2025 was excellent. I myself had a great time when I saw this in theaters, and doing a rewatch and all that. Yeah, excellent. I really think that this Superman film did justice. Yeah. All right, Anchorman, just now coming to you, your final thoughts and words on Superman. Yep, take it away.
I think it's a great Superman movie, easily the best. we've had in a long time, since I felt DC wasn't really getting good after a while. But it's nice to see that they're starting fresh again with Superman. And hopefully we'll get a lot more of David as Superman.
Of course.
Yeah, this movie's easily great for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Yep, so there you go. Our final thoughts and words on Superman. And you're right, and yeah, because with what you said, and as I established early on, because, you know, the DC comic film industry, not looking too good, not entirely, but when James Gunn stepped in, yeah, doing really good. All right, so, again, our final thoughts and words out of the way, done. Now, how many stars we give James Gunn's Superman 2025? Well, of course, starting with you, Anchorman. What say you?
I'd give it a 10.
Okay, and you know what? I'm on the same page as you. Same for me. Yeah, because I first envisioned this like as a 9 out of 10, but nope. For me, same for you, Anchorman. Both of us, 10 out of 10 stars. Yep, 10 out of 10 stars from both me and Anchorman on Superman 2025. Yep. And what about you guys? What did you think of James Gunn's Superman, the first film installment of the new DCU? Yeah, Superman 2025. I'm sure there are some of you that you weren't really sure about this Superman film. You know, again, there were doubters, but, you know, most of them went away when we saw the film itself and how amazing it turned out. And again, James Gunn just being no dummy when it comes to comic book films, like both me and Anchorman have said. Yeah. And also, like, yeah, as I did mention early on, like, if you thought the original title for the Superman film, like, maybe it would have worked, but yeah, no longer called Superman Legacy, but just Superman. I meant to ask you about that, Anchorman, because, yeah, how did you feel about the title change, just being Superman?
I was cool with it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure for all of us, we got used to it, and yeah, works great. And as I said, like, 1978 Superman nowadays pretty much just being called Superman the movie. So yeah, if you were okay with the title change, which of these cast members did you get a kick out of? I'm sure most of them. Like, yeah, again, I feel that not all of them disappointed, and as you also feel too, Anchorman. Some of your favorite characters to come from this Superman film, how you have been enjoying the DCU, and with everything else that was going on in the Superman film, just, yeah, stuff that you did not expect, you weren't really sure at first, but you know what? I'm sure by now, worked out perfectly fine. The main plot line, the storyline, everything that came from this, just, yeah. And, you know, if 2025 Superman, like, if it's, you know, probably would be in your top list of, you know, your favorite Superman films, yeah, just need I go on, like, just, yeah, again, overall, what did you think of Superman 2025 / James Gunn's Superman with what all me and Anchorman have had to say about it, our review collab, and yeah, what did you think of our review of Superman 2025? Leave comments and give this review video a like as always. And so guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed our review collab of James Gunn's Superman 2025, and yep, this being, again, the first film in the DCU. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and we will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, DC Comics Movie Week has now come to a close. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. With the lineup of DC live-action films that I've reviewed for DC Comics Movie Week, you know, just like, yeah. And I hope you guys had a lot of fun, you know, You had a good time. And yeah, and for this to round off and to close DC Comics Movie Week, perfect choice. I couldn't have picked a much better choice, and so on, you know. Yeah. And Anchorman, yeah, it was great to have you be a part of this, rightfully so. Yeah, and for both of us, we both enjoyed Superman. We've been enjoying what's been brought to the new DCU, just, yeah. And yeah, this was a lot of fun for us both review collabing on Superman. So yeah, just overall, thanks so much for joining in.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, my bro. Anytime. Yep. And any last words from you? You know, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yep, he says that. For me, again, we thank you so much for watching. Take care, and until the next DC Comics Movie Week, count on it, and until Supergirl and Man of Tomorrow, yeah, peace out.